My name is Anthony Smith.
I'm just going to flow with this. Whenever I go to something like this, the question of diversity always comes up. And when I meet people of color that may have come to events like this for the very first time, their automatic question is, their instinctual question is, why come there is no diversity here? I mean, what's being talked about is fabulous, it's beautiful, but why is there no diversity here, in particular along racial lines? And I just want to focus on the racial piece because that's the thing that stood out to me. And I find myself having to do a lot of explaining, right? Especially as one who's deeply invested in this conversation, hopefully movement. So I typically had to start off telling my story, how I became a part of this whole thing. But the thing that I found amazing is how much, and I'm speaking primarily from an African-American Christian kind of world, how present we are in Phyllis's telling of Emergence Christianity. There is diversity in her storytelling, in her history, in her cartography, if you will, of Emergence Christianity. Everything from slave Christianity to the Azusa Street revival in LA under the great apostle William Seymour, all the way up to just African American innovation in creating a black church, and Dr. King representing this prophetic black Christian tradition that goes all the way back to slavery. Their voices were heard in the conference. Their voices, their contribution, although it was mostly men, which is interesting. Heard very little about Sojourner Truth, very little about Katie Cannon, very little about Ella Baker. Probably never heard about the last one, did you? You need to. So, the contributions of prophetic black Christianity were named in the brilliant historical narration from Phyllis Tickle. However, the question was asked, why do we not see emergence among African Americans? And the response was that African Americans or African American Christian bodies or denominations or structures, ecclesial structures, church structures, organizations have been, we were told, largely resistant to emergence. Which is ironic because the whole weekend we were told that those very same voices have contributed to the creation and the birth or the midwifing of this very conversation and movement. On one hand, I can understand that there is a level of resistance, but a lot of that resistance, and I'm just going to be forthrightly with you, African American Christians, especially those that are socially conscious, are in a predicament, the same predicament that I am. And friends, here's my predicament. I have no interest, I have no desire in being a theological liberal. And I also have no interest in being a fundamentalist, which is one of the reasons why I even became a part of this conversation. I wanted a third path, a third way, in between theological liberalism and sort of ultra-Christian fundamentalism, ultra-conservative evangelicalism. I wanted a third path. And my thought was that emergence would be that container.